Welcome to the Silver and Black Show presented by Cox. I'm JT along with Raider legend Lincoln Kennedy. And Lincoln, I'm here for a 3-1 start. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, JT. It's good to have you. Welcome.
This is a great time with the Raider Nation. I know John Gruden and his staff is excited. 3-1, first quarter of the season. Tell me how the Raiders got here.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, JT, it comes down to the fact that they found a way to pull out wins. It got off to slow starts, and in my opinion, JT, they got to have better execution when they start the game. But you've seen from the second half how the Raiders were able to come back and win a lot of those games. I mean, they spotted the Chargers 21 points last week, were able to score 14 in the second half and make it a little bit more interesting. But, you know, the Raiders are very fortunate after the first month of football to be 3-1.
I think it's real important. We'll get into it in the show, these slow starts now. Is this a bit of a trend? Do you think that Coach Gruden can correct this? Because we've been seeing this now for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Gruden's system. He always scripts the first 15 plays, and they've got to have better execution. It's got to be better execution in all points, up front as well as the back end. And like I said, we've seen a lot of fight in these Raiders, which is really good, but you don't want to spot too many teams that many big point differences and think that you can come back.
Well, one of the biggest stories in the NFL all week was Justin Fields and him getting the opportunity. I thought he'd start by this time, but a lot of Bears fans have been talking about this link. This is a massive national story because Nagy's been going back and forth if Andy Dalton would be healthy. He made the decision early in the week.
Yeah, and it seems like Bill Lazor, the offensive coordinator for the Bears, have finally found a system that Justin Fields can thrive in. Look, against the Detroit defense, I know the Raiders are a lot better in defense, but he had a pretty good outing. You see him there throwing for 209 yards and only one interception. So he seemed to might have figured out some things for the Bears. We'll see going forward, but this will be a day where you can really push that rookie quarterback to maybe use more of his legs than try to use it in his arm.
Well, he was a great player in college at Ohio State, and the concern I would think, you want to make him a running quarterback. Lamar Jackson was here. The Raiders were able to win that game. But he threw a couple of dimes last week, so he's got confidence coming into this game.
Well, you're exactly right. He's been building confidence, but that's what you want to take it away, because if you're going up against a rookie quarterback, and especially put him in this position where you have a harassing defensive line, a lot of times they're going to refer to what they know in the back of their mind, which is run the football. And that has him looking down at the rush, not necessarily looking down the field. You could take advantage of that.
Well, no head coach in football has had it tougher with the media than Matt Nagy in Chicago. Let's hear from the coach.
You know, we've been patient with this. We've grown with him. We're proud of Justin. He's been a great teammate from the very beginning. And I think what needs to be understood is that from Justin's side, you know, with the injury, the plan and the process that we had going into this was important to understand. And then when Andy unfortunately got hurt with his knee, that sped the process up, that sped the plan up. And so I've always said from the beginning to everybody in here, to our players, coaches, to y'all when y'all ask, is that we'll know. And he's done everything to show us that he's ready for this opportunity.
Wow, the wolves are at the door. The media is all over him. He says one thing one week, then he flips out of it. But I think this is the best way for him to potentially save his job. A lot of the media and the fans in Chicago, Lincoln, are not happy.
Well, you know, I can't remember the last time the Bears had a quarterback to mention. You know, they've been notoriously known for running game as well as defense. But in this instance, Nagy's on the hot seat because he's got to win. He's got to take this team further in the playoffs. And in the playoffs in the last 2 years, they've got to make a run at it, and it's now or never.
Lincoln, I don't think he had a choice at this time. He had to make a move because he's not going to have his job if he doesn't make the playoffs. Doesn't this young quarterback give him the best opportunity to win?
You don't give up the amount of trade capital that they gave up in the draft in order to move up to get a Justin Fields and sit him on the bench behind Andy Dalton, who since he got hurt in his days in Cincinnati has not been the same quarterback. So there are a lot of things that had to happen in order for Justin Fields to get this job, but more importantly for Matt Nagy to appreciate and admit that Justin Fields should be the starting quarterback.
When we come back, Lincoln Kennedy breaks down the vaunted Bears defense as we continue on the Silver and Black Show.
The Silver and Black Show is brought to you by Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. And by Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, nonstop flights. Book now, only at Allegiant.com.
got a certain edge rusher. He's pretty good. But they also have one on the other side, and Robert Quinn, who's a heck of a player. He's been a big sack guy in the NFL, outstanding speed and get off. Akeem in the middle, not only Akeem, but I mean, they got some great players in the middle. Big, strong, physical players. It's one of the more challenging defenses we'll face, all season. And you love that. You love, especially coming off a loss. Your eyes get opened a little bit to some things that maybe we could have done better, and you get excited for the challenge that is out in front of you the next time. And we get to do it at home, so that's good too.
Welcome back to the Silver and Black Show. And Lincoln, he knows this is a real defense. They lead the NFL with 15 sacks. Tell us about the Bears D.
Well, one of the things I want to point out is that there's certain no-nos for offensive tackles in the National Football League. One of them is you don't ever get it overextended, which means you don't reach farther than you can have a recourse. And the second one is don't turn your feet. And then we're going to look at a couple plays right here with Robert Quinn. And I'm going to focus on Robert Quinn because this 10-year vet, 4 out of the previous 9 years has had at least double-digit sacks. Look there. Now, when you stop, already the line of scrimmage is parallel, the tackle is perpendicular. He's already beat because now Robert Quinn is running for the spot that is 5 yards deep. He's running for that angle. This tackle doesn't have any recourse. He's overextended, his arms are extended over his hips, and he turns. It's almost like a turnstile. And if you imagine the gate opening up, you see the internal pressure being pushed in Baker Mayfield's face. So normally the quarterback would try to step up in that case, but in that way he had no place to go. Robert Quinn ends up getting the partial sack. Second play, this is max protection. JT, look at the back and the tight end staying in. The tight end's going to help out on Robert Quinn. Again, let's focus on the left tackle. You see right now, he's perpendicular to the line of scrimmage. No, he's already beat. Robert Quinn is going to have that outside edge, and without anywhere for the quarterback to go, he sees that pocket, he wants to step into it, but lo and behold, Khalil Mack, who's improvising on a stunt to his right, comes into view. It gets Baker Mayfield's attention. Quinn ends up getting another sack. All right, this last play we're going to look at, this is another instance. Now stop there. Already, the tackle's beat. He's perpendicular to the line of scrimmage. He's turned. The angle is straight to the quarterback. There is no recourse for Penei Sewell. There's nothing he can do. He tries to reach out and push Robert Quinn by. He's still able to get his arm on Jared Goff's throwing arm. Turnover defense. So when you look at these plays and the way the Bears defense, especially other than Khalil Mack, are making plays, you find out that Robert Quinn is just as dangerous as number 52. They've got great internal push, whether Akeem Hicks or anybody else plays. The offensive line is going to have to be stout when it comes to keeping Derek Carr clean in the pocket.
That was a great breakdown. Now we move to this potential new offensive line. You and I were at practice earlier in the week. A lot of changes going on. Is this necessity? Is this something that the team had to do?
I think it might just be a spark what you're trying to brand and maybe even get the run game even more of a faster start. We've seen flashes at it, but it's mostly been in the second half. They move Alex Leatherwood, the first-round draft choice of this year, into guard, and Brandon Parker, who's a veteran, a 4-year guy who's been with Tom Cable, is probably going to get the start at right tackle. And I just think it's a shakeup to try to maybe get a little bit more execution and better, faster execution out of this offensive line.
Well, you had an unbelievable career. I want to ask you, have you ever been put in a situation like this back in the day, you or your teammates?
You know, I was reminded of 1999 when Stephen Wisniewski, the great All-Pro, retired. Frank Middleton, who was the right guard next to me, went over to left guard, and they moved Mo Collins, who was a previous first-round draft choice left tackle out of Florida, into right guard, and they put Barry Sims on the left tackle. So there was a little bit of shakeup that Callahan did back in that day. And of course, you know, hindsight being 2020, we were pretty good after that.
You were really good. Now I want to get to Josh Jacobs. And Lincoln, this is a big deal. He's got to get going. Yeah. I think of him in the Mack trade, and you look at the picks that came in. Right. When he's healthy, he's one of the premier backs out there. He's hampered by some injuries, but he looks like he's ready to go. What do you expect from him?
Well, I'm expecting a big day. I'm hoping to get him back and more involved and get a little bit more consistency in this offense. With him missing really the 3 previous weeks and only seeing some action last week of the Chargers, it's going to be difficult to say where he is and as far as his physical strength or the execution with the offensive line. But all of them have to come together because the run game is very important, JT.
Well, you and I were walking the streets of London last time he played against this team, and he had a monster game.
He did. He had a big game back in 2019, and it was all due to the fact that this offensive line had their stuff moving. They had a pretty successful season, and that right there, 123 yards on 26 attempts. Man, JD, that's very impressive. success, and we need to have another one out of those.
Lincoln, when I remember from that game, I was on the sidelines. He was running ferociously downhill. He had big holes, and once he got to the next level, he was running people over.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so the Raiders have yet to figure out that part of their run game. Get him on one-on-one with somebody in the secondary, whether it be a safety or a cornerback. It would be advantage Josh Jacobs. They have to do a better job at blocking the front seven in the box.
When we come back, my weekly conversation with the head coach of the Silver and Black. Coming off a loss, how does John Gruden feel? That conversation is next on the Silver and Black Show. All right. Good job. Welcome back to the Silver and Black Show. Earlier this week, I caught up with head coach John Gruden to talk about the impressive 3-1 start and what it's going to take for the team to get off to quicker starts in the future. Coach, let's begin. You addressed this week the slow starts. What have you and your staff identified that you believe will help going forward with Chicago and other games coming up?
Well, honestly, we have to play better. We have to obviously call better plays because the ones we're calling aren't getting done. But we've had 4 penalties. We've had a couple snaps over the quarterback's head. We got to relax, I think. I think we got to relax. We got to keep our composure better early in games. And that's an understatement.
Let's talk about the great start this year. 3 out of the first 4, 3-1 start. Tell me about the organization, the players, your staff, how excited you are with this start. Raider Nation's fired up.
Well, we're all fired up. We like our team. We have a good young nucleus of players. We have some really good veteran players. It's a good mix. It's a good family atmosphere, a good brotherhood. I'm really proud of that more than anything. We have some injuries right now that are tough, that are taxing us, but I think at the end of the season it could benefit us because we're going to continue to use our entire arsenal of players. And our coaches have done an excellent job of keeping the next man up ready to go.
Before we get to the Bears, there's one play we want to identify and take a look at, the Hunter Renfrow tackle on the fake punt. Unbelievable moment. You talked about this play. Tell our viewers about it. Walk us through the play.
Well, our special teams coach does a good job of alerting our players. I think Hunter, because he's a great listener and he's a natural instinctive player, I think he was looking for that play. He was mad he didn't intercept the ball. But what an unbelievable break he made. How about the tackle? Not many secondary guys can make that hit. But the instincts, the poise that this man plays with is rare, and you won't see that play for another 20 years. That's how uncommon it was. Great recognition, great burst of the ball, and an excellent finish.
Bears are in town. They lead the NFL with 15 sacks. Robert Quinn, Khalil Mack, but they have other great players sprinkled on that defense. Let's talk about the pass rush.
Well, it all starts there. They've done a great job of mixing up their coverages, sprinkling in some blitzes, and they have a couple great pass rushers. Khalil's a great player. Quinn is a guy that's had multiple sacks for different teams in this league. They'll be a challenge. They're good on the back end. They're well coached, and if Hicks plays with Eddie Goldman inside, that's a big, fierce foursome that I'm sure the Bears are excited about.
You know the big media market of Chicago. All week they've been talking about Matt Nagy, Justin Fields, named the starter. You're aware of this now. Fields is a good player. He's a threat as a runner, and there were a couple of great balls he threw last week. He connected on a couple of deep balls.
Well, he's capable. There's no doubt about it. It's going to take a little time. I know none of us have time or want to admit it, but the developmental process, whether you're developing a quarterback or an offensive lineman or anything, it takes a little time. And Matt Nagy's an excellent coach. We know he's got a diverse scheme, and they're going to lean on this quarterback's legs as much as his arm because he can run it and throw it.
Yeah, they are struggling at the running back position with injuries, too. Your injuries, especially in the defensive backfield, Mullen and Arnett coming off the Charger game. Big concern here again, next man up.
Yeah, it is. And we signed Brandon Faison from the Chargers. We think Amik Robertson is ready and capable of playing. He did a good job in the game the other day. Keyshawn Nixon is back. We're missing both our guards. We're missing some players. Derek Carrier, our third tight end, is out for the season, so that'll impact how we look at a couple personnel groupings, but got to get ready to go. Got to play.
Denzel Perryman, second in the NFL in tackles. What a signing. And I want to talk about his energy, ferocious, how he's into every play. He's a guy who brings everyone together in the huddle. I'm very impressed.
You know, he's always been that way. The only problem Denzel's had is he's had some nicks, he's had some injuries. And if he can stay healthy in this system with the guys playing in front of him the way they're playing, he could lead the league in tackles. That's the kind of linebacker he is. He's got every down capability, sideline to sideline ability, and he is a great tackler, and he can knock you back.
Coach, it's been 10 years since the passing of Al Davis. What he means to you, this organization. This is a big date, Friday. Tell us what you think and Mr. Davis's impact on your life and career.
Well, it's hard to do, because here's the founder of football, if you ask me. You could put George Halas and Al Davis and maybe a couple other guys in the same boat. But his passion for football, for the Raiders, for giving anybody a chance, women, men, any race, any age. I think his open-mindedness was uncommon. His will to win, all his slogans he lived by, and it's not a cliche. If you knew Al Davis, you knew pride and poise meant something, and he was one of the great challengers in my life. He challenged me every day. I'll tell you a story, JT.
Yeah,
I'm in the office. I'm an offensive guy. I'm drawing up plays. He walks in and draws a punt protection. He could draw our punt protections. He could draw our defensive alignments. That man knew football and loved football and was great at personnel and has an impact on where we are today with football.
Good luck against the Bears, Coach.
Thanks, JT.
The Silver and Black Show has been brought to you by 1800 Tequila, the best taste in tequila and official partner of the Raiders. And by Chevron. No gasoline gives you better mileage than Chevron with Techron. Chevron, together ahead.
How can you tell the story of the American Football League, of the Raiders, without talking about Al Davis?
He was a pioneer. He brought a different wisdom to the game, a different awareness.
The genius of Al Davis. He would do whatever was right for his football team. What he wanted to do was win, but he wanted to win in the right way and with the right people with the right mindset.
Old Man Willie, touchdown Raiders!
The Oakland Raiders were magnificent on that football field today. Super champions.
He's a fiery, intelligent guy who knew football inside and out. Al specialized in the vertical game. Style of the Raiders throwing the football down the field.
Time to throw. Deep to the end zone to Branch. It is caught by Branch. Touchdown Raiders!
Al was one of these guys that says, we want to win. Not only do we want to win, we want to dominate. We want to dominate.
Allen gets away for a moment, comes back up the middle of 30, 25, 40, breaks past 2 men at the 50, down to the 40, picking up a blocker. Holy Toledo! Touchdown Raiders! 7-4.
I think today that this organization, this team, this coaching staff dominated so decisively that two things must be said. Not only, in my opinion, are you the greatest rated team of all time, I think you rank with the great teams of all time that have ever played any professional sport.
In terms of football knowledge, he's here, and everybody else was here.
He came in as a coach, became a general partner, became the owner. His legacy is the history of the Raider organization.
Al was one of the greatest football minds ever. It's an amazing story. It's certainly the American dream.
As a famous American said, I had a dream to someday build and maintain the finest organization in the history of sports. An organization that would be the most imitated, the most respected, and the most feared organization in its field.
Welcome back to the Silver and Black Show presented by Cox and Lincoln. I can't imagine what you're going through. It's 10 years. Talk about the impact that Mr. Davis had on your life as a player and especially off the field.
Well, JT, in 1993, I remember the winter coming off of the practice field for the East-West Shrine game in Palo Alto, and I saw Mr. Davis. And at that point, we had a little bit of a conversation, and he said, we can't pick you because you're not going to be on the board when we have our draft pick this year, Lincoln, but mark my words, one day you're going to be a Raider. 3 years later, he made a trade for me, and it forever changed my life and my career because Mr. Davis showed me the importance of being a part of a wonderful organization and a part of a family. That's one of the things things that I will never forget about him.
Whenever I walk into Allegiant Stadium, I feel Mr. Davis. How proud would he be of Mark Davis and what he did, not only with the team coming here, but especially Allegiant Stadium?
Well, finally, the Raiders have a home. They haven't had a home until now. Las Vegas has welcomed this city. The state of Nevada has welcomed the entire Raiders organization, and it has been a wonderful transition. The facilities are great, the amenities are great, and now we just have to put a great team on the field, and they're off to a great start being 3-1.
All right, give me a quick story about getting called to his office. You're a great player. He wants to talk. He knows your mind. Give me one of those.
Well, one of the things you always felt like when you were getting in trouble, you go to the principal's office, like, oh, what is it going to be? But when you got called up by Mr. D in his office and you go into that little man cave, that man's lab, if you will, then you would see all these things and he would tell you these stories. Sitting down, I was like a deer in headlights. I was just captivated by all the stories, all the history, the most he knew about football, and he valued your opinion. So he would say, hey, who's a nickel end or who's a rush in that we might be able to make a play? What do you think about it? It's one of the reasons why we got guys like Trace Armstrong in the Raiders uniform.
Well, you're an historian too, and you always refer to him too as a coach.
Yes.
He's one of the former players talk to him as a coach.
Absolutely, without a doubt. He just had that type of knowledge that you just wanted to tap in as a player. And there was no, if you always wanted to learn, it was a great place, an open encyclopedia, if you will, if you were studying under Mr. D.
All right, Allegiant Stadium, the Bears coming off a loss. Great way, Lincoln, to come home. The place is going to be packed. Fans are ready. They want the Raiders to get back on the winning ways again.
It's been a tremendous atmosphere so far, JT. And one of the things that you want to think about in the Allegiant fans, Raider fans coming in Allegiant Stadium, is that, of course, cheer the team on. Let's get them off to a fast start. The players want to respond better than they've had in the previous month and still try to keep that winning tradition going.
And I think it's really important, a good game for Derek Carr, a
Yes.
bounce-back game, because this, as you pointed out, is a very good defense. They got to protect Derek, and Derek's got to throw, attack downfield.
Whether they start on defense with the defense first out there or the offense going out there, you got to take the initiative, you got to take the charge. Defense has got to get off the field. Get off the field early, instill their will against a rookie quarterback, harass him, make him feel uncomfortable. On offense, continue to make Derek feel comfortable, get this run game started, score some points, put the pressure on the opposing team.
Well, we talked about it. We opened up the show 3-1, an opportunity to get to 4-1. Build momentum again at Allegiant Stadium. Raider Nation, get going. It's a big one against the Bears.